Joining us now is the Attorney General of California. Mr. Becerra, thank you for being with us tonight. In your view, how is the president violating the Constitution?
Frank and Julie, thanks for having me. Very clear. The Constitution makes it clear that our courts, our Congress, and our president, the executive branch, are all separate branches, co-equal, and that each has their own responsibilities. The responsibility to determine where our taxpayer dollars go is Congress's responsibility. Donald Trump cannot usurp that obligation and privilege. He's trying to do that through this fabricated emergency declaration, which he himself has admitted he didn't have to do. And so, in every respect, the facts prove that Donald Trump is acting outside the law in declaring an emergency, but he's also acting outside the law in trying to raid pots of money that have already been allocated by Congress.
Mr. Becerra, several states want to join your lawsuit. When do you plan to file it, and what do you think your chances are of stopping the president?
We have filed, so the litigation is now begun. There are 16 states that are part of this lawsuit. All of us believe that it would be harmful for our citizens to have more than $8 billion taken away from the projects and services that we expect our taxpayer dollars to be used for.
Specifically, what would some of those projects be? If the president wins, what does California stand to lose?
So recognize, Frank, that the president targeted a lot of military dollars, military construction dollars. Much of that money goes, for example, to the Army Corps of Engineers, which helps, quite honestly, a lot of states when they're in mode of helping folks who suffered from natural disasters, the Camp Fire up north, all the different wildfires, the mudslides when people are displaced, tornadoes, hurricanes, floods in other parts of the country. The defense dollars, Army Corps of Engineer dollars, go to help rebuild, go to help people during times of crisis. There's also military money that goes to installations, military installations, where our men and women in uniform and their families reside. Taking that away hurts California families that are in the military. Taking away money for drug interdiction, which doesn't make any sense, to take money from drug interdiction to build a border wall when we know most of the drugs trying to come into this country are caught. We catch them at the ports of entry, and so to undermine drug interdiction will certainly hurt Californians if those drugs make it into our state.
So if you don't agree with the president's call for a border wall, do you believe there is a problem at our southern border? And if so, what would your solution be to fixing it?
Well, we've had challenges at our border over time, and we deal with them. The challenge we face, though, is not a national emergency. It's not a crisis. 9/11, when George Bush declared an emergency in 2001, that was a crisis. That was an emergency. 1979, President Carter declared a national emergency when we had Americans who were held hostage in Iran. But what Donald Trump is talking about is not an emergency. He himself knows it. He himself said it. That's why when he said, "I don't have to do this," he was acknowledging that this is not really a national emergency. But he went ahead and did it. He also understood that he's likely to lose in court. He said it himself on Friday. We'll go to court, I'll lose. You know, he went through that whole rendition and talked about how he's hoping he can, hit that Hail Mary and win before the Supreme Court.
Mr. Becerra, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.